This is the oldest repertory theatre company in the Southern Hemisphere. And it is, from a historical point of view, it's irreplaceable.
I've been a great supporter of the Adelaide Rep for many years because I think it does a wonderful job in the community of introducing people to the theatre and training people in the theatre.
I got my first role in a Ruby Litchfield play, which I got because I looked stuck up at the audition.
I was chosen because I was a really poor dancer and all the other little girls were out there dancing and I was just being a little frog with this dear lady. But I do remember that as being instrumental, and that was why I guess this theatre has stuck in my mind as being almost like a place of my acting birth.
I probably played around up here in the props and costumes room. I think I hid between the clothes.
As you can see around you, all the history of the Adelaide Rep is 100 years old next year, and I've never had that experience with a theatre company. The memorabilia and all the photographs and history is really strong in this theatre. It was nice to be a part of it.
One of the actors couldn't come, one of the soldier actors, and so I played the part. And I had the uniform on and the hobnail boots. And so I stepped onto the stage, gave a smart salute, and then in my hobnail boots proceeded to slide down the stage the footlights, with all of the cast, of course, trying to suppress their great humour, the director being caught out so badly.
At the production of Hobson's Choice that we put on quite a few years ago, I played the young chappie's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, and I just had the one scene where I came in and absolutely blew my top off at him and then stalked off. And I remember one night the audience just broke into applause as I left spontaneously, and I took enormous pleasure from hearing that and knowing.
Peter Gers, who's quite a supporter of the Adelaide Rep, walking out one night and saying the lines from the second act and realising he should be in the first act, so he walked off and came on again and started again.
When you look at all of the memories that are in this green room up here, all the photographs of going right back to when this theatre was built, that was an achievement in itself, because before that they didn't have, a regular home. So when you think it started from a little group of people who were reading plays and giving play readings, and it gradually built up and up. I believe, I don't know whether this is true, I've just heard, that at one stage they had over 2,000 members. Now that is incredible.
Yeah, it began back in 1908, just on 100 years ago, and there was a gentleman who had come from England. He was Welsh, and he was at the Elder Conservatorium of Music, and decided that probably theatre in South Australia wasn't being looked at sufficiently. So he just got some of his students and past students together just to look at drama, look at plays that were being written, things that were a little more, I guess, more gutsy than some of the burlesque that was being performed. So it was just initially just play readings. So Mr. Trahan, Bryson Trahan, started this group and then became the leading light. So really kicked it off.
And they were playing at the Tivoli Theatre, which, as you know, is Her Majesty's Theatre now, and it was wonderful. The Rep seemed to, I thought they owned the theatre.
These were the halcyon days. They were doing 8, sometimes 10 plays a year. The sets were absolutely extraordinary. anybody that saw these sets by Irving Johnson know that not many people have ever come to do sets of that quality.
Initially, he was putting on plays by George Bernard Shaw, by Yeats, stuff that was good, meaty theatre, because the play was the critical thing.
And sometimes they did 3-act plays, and they would demonstrate on the revolve as the second play came in. They wouldn't drop the curtain, they would revolve the stage, and people could see the next play coming on in its entirety, and that was considered quite something.
One of the more extravagant productions the Rep did was in 1934, and Theo Schall was an internationally known performer and director, and he was here in Australia performing in another play, and he was encouraged to come across and direct a play for the Rep, and it was Faust by Goethe. And there were 60 performers in that play, astonishing production, and he gave up his little time from his Hollywood and his European performances to come and put on such an extravagant production, and that was in 1934.
Well, yes, this beautiful object in front of me here is the Ruby Award, or one of the Ruby Awards, and is named after Dame Ruby Litchfield, who was a great supporter and very involved with the Repertory Theatre for many, many years, a wonderful director. But also she was involved right across the arts community, with the Festival Centre and various other things like that. So she made a great contribution to the arts, and when they decided to develop arts awards for achievements in the arts in South Australia, they named them after her, and they're called the Ruby Awards.
There's 3 people I learned a lot from in theatre, and they all worked here. One was Ruby, one was Harold Monier, and the other one was Betty Quinn, and they helped you to bring out the very best in your character. They made you go in depth with your character and read your script properly.
We had people like Carl Menz, Leo Heffernan, Dame Ruby Litchfield, Vivian Cundell, who her stage name was Oldfield, Phyllis Burford. Oh look, there's a whole litany of names actually. And many people in that era, where we're talking 1960s, 70s, 80s, the Adelaide Rep was more or less their whole life. They didn't work anywhere else, they just worked here and gave everything that they had to here.
Rosalba Clementi, who was the previous Adelaide State Theatre director, started at the Adelaide Rep. One of her early performances was the Adelaide Rep. Also Keith Michelle, who visits every year here, see that we're still doing it properly.
Adelaide Repertory Theatre, good morning. Certainly. How many? And for what day?
Well, the Adelaide Repertory Theatre will celebrate its centenary in 2008, making it the oldest continual live performance theatre, not only in South Australia or Australia, but in the Southern Hemisphere, as far as we are able to find. It's a great achievement, not only for the Adelaide Rep, but for the City of Adelaide. And next year they will celebrate their centenary with a year of performances and special events.
There's a lovely history to this theatre and a lovely tradition. So let's all think positive and give it new life.
You know, when you see all the schools coming in doing their productions, because we have 4 or 5 schools that use it every year, you think, wouldn't it be great if all these kids really got the love of theatre and really sorted
end
out?
up doing something in the future if, there's ever an opportunity, or, L'Oreal's directing something. Maybe I could give it a go.
Well, I think amateur theatre is very important in that it provides an easy access into the arts for many people. It's not expensive to go and see it, and it's not expensive to be involved in it. And often it's the first experience they have of live theatre. Their friends have said, I'm in a show, you've got to come and see me. But then that way it helps develop a theatre community, a theatre-going community, and appreciation of theatre.
Actress is very good and her voice is very clear.
We're looking forward to celebrating 25 years with the Rep's 100 years next year.
Well, my hope for the future of the Rep is that it can continue for another 100 years and beyond. I mean, who knows what sort of effect live theatre will have, but I think it's a necessary thing.
I'm auditioning for Inherit the Wind for the centenary production next year for the Adelaide Repertory Theatre. It's interesting because we advertise in the paper, in other words, it's an open audition, so that we get a whole variety of people coming in that we don't know. And of course, the Adelaide Repertory Theatre members are auditioning as well, so there's an enormous variance in standards and experience, but fortunately the play has a very large cast, 34 people, so we can give some of the inexperienced people opportunity, and also there's some very nice roles for the very good actors that the Repertory Theatre does have.
I remember auditioning here and seeing all these faces looking down on me. One particular audition for The Matchmaker, I desperately wanted the lead. I didn't get the lead, but I did get a role in that play, which I loved. But auditioning for it and looking around at all my influential faces and thinking, I'm doing this for you, let's hope I can pull it off. I might be alone in that, but that's the way I see this room. It has a magic for me.
I believe the centenary is a wonderful time, an ideal time to review the past and to celebrate the past, to assess the present and to plan for the future, the next 100 years of the Adelaide Repertory Theatre. After all, the play's the thing.
And the lovely thing about the theatre, and especially the Rep in those days, you didn't have to come in for auditions. Once they had auditioned you, that was it.
It was before State Theatre started, and you were invited to audition, and it was a privilege to work for them in what is still a very well-equipped theatre.
It wasn't until the 70s that there was in fact professional theatre in South Australia. So they were a leading light in theatre.
In those days, the Rep was huge. People queued up at Cawthorne's. Miss Mack would do the bookings, and it was really something to work for the Rep.